Hello, everybody. It's Ace of Trades here with just a quick review of Monday, President's Day. It's a half a day of trading, and there's super light volume today just because it's a bank holiday. But the market was open, or it is still open for another hour here. Um, but there's likely not going to be much going on. But I just wanted to do a quick review of what happened today and also point out something yesterday that happened Friday. I want to show you something about Friday as well. So our overnight highs here on whatever 4 or 5 something in the morning. The overnight low is actually here. Okay, this is like 12:30 in the morning. However, you can notice that there are two clear legs up here. So we want to be, I would, I would normally keep that there, but also be paying attention. Let's just do this real quick. And I might color this a different color or something just so this, because we're coming up off of these two legs and clearly, pushing up here from Friday before we actually close for the weekend. We found some support here. And so I'd want to be aware of this level because um, we definitely have two clear legs up here. So this level, because of how prices played out Friday into Monday morning, this could definitely be a key level I want to keep an eye on. And so what I would have been looking for coming down here is hopefully something similar where I get a leg down and maybe I get a correction, and then I can look for this to make a new low. You don't really ever get that. This kind of pushes down through the overnight low, comes back up here. You don't get any kind of correction. Um, and then, well, I mean, you do get a correction, but it's just one leg, and then it just dumps to a new low. And so now you want to be careful that this has been played out because this trend has a new low. And so we just want to be careful not to, wouldn't take any shorts because you might get trapped on them, and be watching for maybe prices to try to push back up here off these levels. And so we push up and we just kind of start going sideways here. And so I would have been drawing this range. And I don't really see anything that's enticing off this size chart. Now, what I did notice, was interesting. It looks like we have a good trade, and I wasn't looking at this at the time. It looks like we have a good trade on the 1,000 tick chart, and because there wasn't much volume today, the 1,000 tick was printing much cleaner than you normally see it. If you look over here, you can see how often bars are printing and how spotty it looks, and but here you're just getting clean legs, and this is what we're looking to take trades off of. We're looking to take trades off of clean legs of correction, or clean retracements that give us setups at the end of the retracement. So we've got this move down, right? We saw this on the 2K chart. Here's a break, a new low into this, potential support area. We want to keep an eye on. So immediately after we get this push down, we get this pushes up higher above the EMA. It clears this former low, so now we have another higher. We have a higher high starting. We get one leg back into the support level. It pushes up again. We get another leg down that creates. We get two measured legs down, and you can see how. So we've got 46, 48. So almost 4 points to the EMA, but we can see the way prices are behaving, that they're not really, since we started this move up, they're not really obeying the EMA. The EMA is it's just slicing through the EMA. So what we can be comfortable here is that, yes, we do have room to the EMA, but it may just slice through. You may actually get, you have this leg up. So you may get two legs down. This may be a center of a pattern, and you may get a second leg up, at least, and maybe that might launch into a larger attempt to move higher. So we kind of just we pushed up through here, and because the price action is so sluggish today, we're just kind of chugging along. Now this little thing here might turn into some sort of resistance, and we might push down again. But I definitely think that this would have been a good place to enter. You're off this, you have this support zone here, and it's two measured legs down, and you get this nice bar in an area where you'd be looking for a swing to form. Um, Fortunately, I wasn't watching the 1K chart at that point, um, so didn't see it. So that's pretty much it for today. And then I wanted to show you something about um, Friday. So Friday we had this big trend down forming, okay? And I was talking about how if I bring up, here's my chart I always print my charts out from every day's price action. And so here's my chart. And I remember, and if you look at that video, I was saying this bar is just not good enough. It's too bullish. All these bars are finishing bullish. So, what's to say this doesn't push down and, it's wants to continue pushing up to this measured move, which it eventually, as you can see, it does before it starts to try to go down there. Um, so we don't get a good bar there. So there's no chance to enter thinking, this may be trying to push down to a new low. Lots of room to the EMA, but we don't get a clean bar. However, this is kind of now, for some reason, um, when the data reloads after a while, sometimes you'll get a different bar printing. So let me just pull this over here. We can look at these side by side a little bit. Let me just scrunch this together. Okay, so we have, so this is what I was looking at originally on Fridays, the bars were printing. But this is what you get, um, after the fact, that data reloads and you get this. And let's just pull this over here like that. And so if I see that, if I have this big downtrend and I see that, you get this move up, and then we can look at this as a small trend up, but it's against this major bias down. We get this small trend up, and if you're viewing this as a trend in a vacuum, right? So we'd have, let's just do this just to show you. So, you could be, if you didn't have all this other price action here, you'd be looking at this. So you see this trend up. This trend then breaks from its momentum up and creates a new high for itself. And so now you've got two things working in your favor. This trend has now created a new high. And so you get this nice bearish bar coming back. This is where the bias is down. And so you get, you have those two things working together. This trend is broken, made a new high. And this is also, you could view this as one leg, two legs of correction. And you have, even if we would, let's just show you how, it looks as it's printing. Even if you have that and you want to draw a swing off it for a wider trend, but we don't like wider trends for taking trades off of to go with, but we want to be aware that we're not shorting into something where there could be something forming. So when this bar prints like this, we're not worried about it shorting into a trend. We have plenty of room to the trend. We still have plenty of room to the EMA. And so I think that would have been a good spot that's something I was looking for on Friday, but we didn't get that set up. We got that ugly green bar and then it just dumped. So, um, sometimes you just don't get the printings that you're looking for. This one also looks interesting too. If you had this in a vacuum, and what I mean is, like, let's say you're reversing or something off like a high like this, and you're reversing down and you don't have all this other price action, and then you get something like that looks pretty good to take because you have one leg, two legs, and you would have this momentum. Now, the reason I don't particularly care for it, even though it does win, is because you already have this wider channel forming. Okay, we had a little overshoot of this channel, so that's a bit of a concern, number one. Not a total deal breaker because it's not out terribly. And then the second thing is because we do have this wider channel, it appears, we would be concerned about prices coming back to maybe in a bigger two legs to the other side of the channel, which would end up stopping this out if you just ticked you in and went higher. So contextually, I'm a little concerned about that one because of the wider channel. But if this was coming off of like, let's say this was coming off of like here, and you got that those nice waterfall bars and two legs of correction, then I'm okay with it because this is just your first trend getting established. Okay, but you have to be aware of wider contexts that come into play. It does win, but we need to be get out of the mindset if you're somebody who's struggled with just looking at patterns in this type of price action. Um, you just it's not it is a you know one attempt, two attempts. You can see it for this, but you have this wider trend that you have to be concerned about. And remember, my loser this month that we looked at, um, I pointed that out that it would have won for my normal profit target, but I think what was working against it was the wider channel, and so it tried to push up again one more time on that loser. And I believe that was on like February 3rd. If you go look at the February 3rd video. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. Pretty short video by my standards. Um, it could have been even shorter, but I wanted to come back to Friday and show how that type of setup right there, that would have been better to uh, look for an entry. So, um, and why? So, I talked about that, talked about this, and you can just see how these structures play out over and over again. And when you don't get clean stuff like this, you just sit around and you don't do anything. So this is how I have come to find uh, high probability setups and just stay out of the junk. Um, I could see people will get trapped on stuff like this. Now this bar is not really very good. But let's say this closed real high up here, and there are people that look for these pattern two tries. So they'll kind of miss that this has already made one, two measured legs up. So you got to be real careful about after you get into major measured moves that prices had in the near term. Um, a pattern is going to probably get trapped. So here they'll just look at ticks. And when they see that this move is over and it's made some kind of effort higher, they'll look at that as one attempt, and then they'll see, let's say this closed up here super bullish, and then they'll see, oh, that's made, I don't, yeah, it even triggers. So it's made, so they'll put a buy stop here thinking, this is wants to go higher, but there's several things working against it. Number one, you already have two legs up. Number two, and you'll be able to see this as you gain more experience just without even drawing lines. There's you might hear me use the term STT. So I might use the term if you hear me say there's an STT against it, against a trade. Um, there's a short-term trend working against you. So there's an STT working against it, and certainly once this prints, everybody knows they made a boo-boo, and then it does hold there a minute because of the EMA, but then it just dumps down. So you want to be aware of short-term trends. If you are aware of this two legs up, then you're not going to get trapped. And let's even do this too. Okay, let's do this, right? Because I talk about this often. People will try to start doing this sort of thing. Even so-called advanced price action traders that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers that people follow and think they're great, which I'm not saying they're not profitable, but I see them make errors like this, right? So they'll try to form a larger trend off two legs. And boy, doesn't that look like that's holding. Boy, if this would have formed a bullish bar here, that's I'm I'm telling you, there's a lot of traders that have been trading even for years that will get trapped there on that because they think they're getting a third touch of this trend line forming a wider channel that's just going to start going up. And honestly, well, you can see that was at 6 a.m. So a lot of people aren't trading, but if this was like during the middle of the day, a lot of people will get trapped on something like that. Now the bar will this a bar printing like this will keep them out because it's kind of weak. But if it forms super bullish here off especially off this trend line, looks like it's rejecting the EMA, they will certainly get trapped there a lot. So if you can uh, find that stuff and weed that stuff out of your setups, you'll save yourself a lot of losers. So even with a week half day today, I'm still working on 16 minutes here, but I hope you found a lot of value in this one. I think there is, uh, maybe even more so than some things that I go through on full days. A couple neat things on here. So anyway, that's going to do it for today, and I'll probably be back tomorrow for the first full day this week.